And we are live on YouTube. Hey, everybody. This is Forever Phoenix here again on a Thursday night and continuing being under construction. Um, you may see Ace looking around. He has some construction going on in his room right now. Everything is alive and well. And we are going to continue the series on being under construction. This is part three, Ace?
Yep, part three.
Okay, this is part three of being under construction. And actually, all week I've kind of been talking with Ace about construction, about the different things that's going on. Um, if any of you are in the Mayfield area, stay away from it. There is a lot of construction going on up and down Mayfield everywhere. So it seems like since we've been under construction and since I've started the series on construction, it's very interesting. Everywhere I go now, there is construction. Now they're getting ready to work on Richmond Road and between Mayfield and Cedar. So every which way I need to get to work is under construction. So when I look at that, I look at my life and find it very interesting how the construction work going on is paralleling the different things that are going on for me. So this week, I want to take a step back and I want to talk about being at the table under construction. Last week, we talked about executing the construction, which means executing the things that we want to put in place in our life. And what came to me this week is that the different people that came to the table to decide exactly what kind of construction was going to happen, what was going to be built, how it was going to be built, and the steps it would take to build it. And as I was thinking about that, what came to me is that the construction has totally stopped. We have protesters in front of the site where they are digging at. We have protesters. We have people, environmentalists now actually protesting, picketing our construction and not wanting the construction to go on. And so, how does that apply to self? Well, when we decided to build the building, there's an architect that actually does the building of the building. Well, just like in our life, the architect talked to no one as far as what the building should look like, the different rooms that should be in the building, where everything should be at. And in doing that, nobody actually talked to the CEO of the company. And the CEO happens to be your higher self, your spirit self. And so without the input of the spirit, the construction cannot go on because the spirit is the one that actually knows what we need, how we need it, and what needs to be done. The other thing that came up for me is that as the land surveyor was going over the land surveyor found out that there is some burial grounds on the land that we purchased, which is interesting because, again, nobody talked to nobody as far as what was going to happen. So, what I want you to think about in your own personal lives, how you decide to put a plan together and the ego is running things and Never talk to anyone else in the family, never talk to your emotions, never talk to anyone else, and just decided this is what we need to do. And then what happens? Well, I was telling Ace this morning, I was driving down Mayfield, and you know how you have that man that stands on the street when there's a construction and he has the sign, and on one side of it says stop, on the other side of it says slow. So this young man was standing on the street, and so the sign that was facing us was stop. So of course the sign that was facing the other way was slow. Well, the lady that was in front of me was stop, and the other traffic was going very slowly going by, and the young man was waving to the lady to come on and go, but the sign says stop. And so she was sitting there, and the young man was getting frustrated because she wouldn't go anywhere, and so he was waving her down and waving her down, and she was just sitting there. And finally another guy came and waved her around, so finally she went on. So as I got to the young man, I said, your sign says stop. And so he looked at the sign, so he turned it around for our traffic to go. So then the traffic on the other side of the street stopped. So then he was totally confused. So he was taking the sign back and back and forth because there was no slow on both sides of the sign. And so as I thought about that, I thought about how we do. Okay, we start, we stop, we start, we stop. We continue to go. We start a project, we stop a project. We start a project, we stop a project. And we're back and forth. And all we do to our own self is cause major confusion. And nobody takes the time to just be still and listen to that voice that will tell you what to do. The voice that is in control of everything, that says, be still and listen. I would lead you, I would guide you. Instead, the ego is saying, go. The emotions are saying, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay here. There's a lot of confusion that goes on because we don't take the time to just be still and hear the voice. And hearing the voice is not the easiest thing, especially when you have a lot of different voices going on in your head. And so you're trying to figure out which voice to follow. And so, Ace, we were talking about that, and you had that happen this week. So I wanted you to kind of go over what we discussed because really um, a good example of the confusion that we have going back and forth and not listening and not hearing that voice.
So the voice is the critical piece in this whole thing, because as we're navigating through our life day in and day out, dealing with all the things that get thrown at us, a lot of times we just move from one situation to another. And you're right, if we're not careful to listen, we can rush ahead and jump into some we have no business jumping into, or we could not take action and create a different type of scenario. So I look at that voice that we're supposed to listen to, if you're talking about, since we're talking about construction, is the general contractor. That's the person that comes out. I remember when my parents were building their home, that's what they hired. They hired a general contractor, came out, had everything done, surveying of the land, they test the soil, all this type of stuff, because they deal with all the individuals that are doing the different jobs, the electricians, the plumbers, the people that put on the roof, the people that put on the drywall. There's a lot of different moving parts to putting it together. And those moving parts are our personalities. So we have to know how to navigate through all of that. So listening has been the big thing. So a number of weeks ago, I felt scattered. Nanette, you and I know I had a conversation. You know, sometimes I talk with Amelie, and it was dealing with business, and I felt like everything was out there, but I didn't have a good feeling about the direction. And then one day I had my meditation and it just popped. I was quiet enough. I heard the voice and I said, bam. And I was able to make these decisions, and then things started to just fall in place. So the key is to really, really listen. On one of the business projects I'm working on, I was running into some resistance. And then since I made a decision, it seems like everything's changed. I'm going into the same environment, same store, working with the same product, but the difference is everything has just been cleared out of the way to allow me to do what needs to be done to make this flow. Um, Today, I'm working on getting a package that's going out to another country. And I was, again, talking with Amelie about something, and bam, the shipment came in. The other part of the shipment came in to merge with the shipment. And it's all about just being in that vibration and knowing when to move and when to stand still. So that voice, you know, whether you want to call it your higher self, whatever it is to you, you know, we're talking about construction. So I use the word general contractor. That general contractor and listening to that is so important, because just like if you want to build a home, you get the expert. Well, we have to get the expert to that's supposed to guide us through this journey of life. And imagine trying to build your home on your own. You know, now people have done it, but it comes with the growing pains, this, that, and the other. That's why people hire general contractors. Why? They've done it. Why? They're here to guide us. They can come in, they can lay everything out, lay it out through the calendar, let you know the process. You don't want to put in the plumbing before you put on the roof, or you know, and I don't know how it works and all that, but there's a sequence to putting your whole spiritual situation together before you are really in a situation where you can flow. So the key is listening to that higher self, knowing when to stop, knowing when to go, knowing when to just observe. That's been the biggest thing with me, is like, hey, shut up. You know, don't say nothing, just observe. This is the observing zone. And sometimes it's hard, you know, and that you and I were having a conversation today. And I remember you was like, well, hey, sometimes you just want to hit it. It may not be time to hit it. It may just be time to just observe. That message may not need to come from you. So I think that the higher self, or the general contractor, that entity, that voice, there it exists in all of us. We've got to align with that and bring ourselves down to a certain vibration and frequency where we can hear it and then move on it. So that's kind of like how the last couple of weeks have been going, as far as some things dealing with business with me. So hope that helps you guys out.
You know, it's interesting because you're talking about the general contractor. And if we think about the general contractor is not going to yell. General contractor is not going to scream. General contractor is one who's got the plan. Now, all these other people, and I use the example of protesters, and all these other people are running around. Those are our personalities, those are our emotions, our feelings. I want it this way, I want it that way. And every, and these things go in our head. We got all this kind of, I want this, and then you got the one that wants to pout and one that wants it their way and everything. And so you've got a mad chaos going on. Why is that? Because everybody wants their own way, but nobody is listening to what? The general contractor. And so a lot of times, those different voices that you're hearing, you need to really sit down and understand that these voices are voices from the past. These are voices of things that we never resolve, things that are still lurking, that I'm mad at this one, or I can't do this, or someone said this, or all of these different conversations that go on our emotional side. That emotional side is the side that is making the most noise. The emotional side and the feeling side are the one that's going, okay, I don't want to do this, or I do want to do this, or I don't know how to do this. And you've got all these different voices going on. And if we've been used to allowing those voices to continue, you know, you have a voice, but then at some point, who's going to tell that voice no more? You know, it doesn't serve me now. And, we wake up every day, we've got a brand new day, but yet and still, we're still bringing those old things into the life now. So, how are you ever going to put that house together if you've got everybody wanting to put in their input, but the expert, which is your general contractor, your higher self, is just sitting there? Because when everything is said and done, the final say so, the general contractor goes to the CEO, and the CEO is the one that signs the paper. And so you spend all this time allowing all these different personalities to have all this different say so, and you're wasting time instead of just being still and knowing that the final conclusion, final construction is not going to start until the CEO signs off on the paper.
Annette, I want to ask you a question.
Uh-oh. Yas.
A number of weeks ago, we talked about the hair analysis, and you had brought up a point that foods were showing up in the results or the analysis that we weren't eating. Like,
Mhm.
I don't eat avocados, but yet I've got avocados on my test. And you had
Right.
mentioned that it was tracked back to a previous life. And
Or
so that
ancestors.
made sense to me. So I'm also believing in my spirit, or I'm feeling in my spirit, that a lot of our emotions we brought from our past lives as well. Not only past lives, but our past ancestors. So if we are God and goddesses, and you really look at and you really look at that statement, we've got a whole lot of stuff, because I sometimes sit back and I look at my life and I'm like, okay, how the hell did this character called Ace get this makeup of all these different personalities, things, this, that, and the other? And I'm really starting to believe that, like, when we come here, we incarnate back here on this planet, it's just not what's going on in our world now, but what we brought back from the past and the lineages of our ancestors. So I know I'm crazy, but does that
Yes,
make
we all
sense?
know
Does,
that.
does that, but does that make sense? Like, this is an ongoing construction that's been
Mhm.
happening over several lifetimes. And this is where we are now. This is what we have brought to this incarnation this time. But yes, there is some residual from past lifetimes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Oh, you gotta say more than that.
I thought you were on a roll.
Well, I mean,
You
I'm
know,
just looking at I'm looking at the fact that, and I'm just talking about when you look at planet Earth, you look at 7 billion people on the planet, all these different personalities, this, that, and the other. There are different people I've met in my life that are not in my family that I know without a
mhm,
shadow of a doubt that I've been with them in a different lifetime. I can't explain it, I just know it. There may be individuals that you guys have that same connection with, and it's like you can't quite put your finger on it, but things just lock in place. I just feel that there's so many signs and coincidences. Well, they're not coincidences, but I just feel that there's so many clues that point that we have journeyed and cycled through maybe many lifetimes together. And I look at Latoya, Cassandra, you know, uh, who knows? We could have been hooked up and been in another type of crew, in a previous life. And I think that with that, we come with these emotions, but it gives us the opportunity to really heal. I was also thinking about it with all this pedophile stuff that's showing up, that that is linked to some of our past too. I literally believe that in another life, I was part of the sex trade. And I know that that's a taboo topic and people don't like to talk about it, but think of how many people on this planet are having issues just talking about sex and dealing with that whole angle. So I think that we bring a lot of things in the new construction in this incarnation, not only for us to build up, but also to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use the word tear down. I used that last week, but to change or evolve through, and make what we're building even better. So I'm just gonna let you speak on that.
maybe I need to. It's interesting that you say that because the one thing that when I was thinking about the construction this week, the one thing that came up for me was that, they were digging and they came across some bones, in the
Mhm.
construction site. You've got people that, dig up and they look for the bones and they look for different things. How many skeletons do we have? As they say, the cliche says, how many skeletons do we have in the closet? Well, what are those skeletons? How do we, there are people that I have in my life that are not biological family that are closer to me than my own family. You know, there are people that I just click with. You know, I have a best friend that I grew up with. Her and I look just alike. And
Oh
we
wow.
are, I mean, there's no, you know, and when people see us, yesterday I was in the store and someone came up and said, "Hey, aren't you such and such sister?" And I went, No, "Mm, but you look just like her." Yes, I look like their family, and we are not kin. And so there's a lot of things that we don't even haven't even scratched the surface as far as who we are, who we truly are. And Ace, I know you're talking about past lives and stuff and everything, but I really think we got enough stuff in this life that we're trying to work through that, that other stuff is like I believe that the general contractor is saying, okay, work on, say, your anger. Just use that for example. And working on that anger in this lifetime will clear up everything. I believe that the general contractor will say, okay, we're going to start in, you know, pouring the foundation, but we need to pour the foundation here. Why do we need to pour it here? Because this area is now clear. So I believe that as we allow ourselves to be under construction, that the general contractor will lead and guide us through the easiest route to do this. And I talk about the CEO, where the CEO is just sitting there going, okay, this is what I want. This is how it's done. I'm paying for it. My hands are off of it. I got the contractor. That's what I hired him for. The CEO is just sitting back. Who's the CEO? That's who you truly are. So the CEO, which is you, is saying, hey, this is what I came here to do. These are the things I came here to clean up. Now I'm giving the instructions to the higher self, to the general contractor. And so the contractor is the one that's constantly leading and guiding us to get that building built, and that building is who we truly are. So that all the things that we came here to do that we can do. You know, a lot of people are always looking for their purpose and they think there's only one purpose. Well, no, we've got more than one purpose. We've got a lot of different purposes. As we finish one thing, there's something else. And so through this life that we call human, there's a lot of working pieces that we need to sit down, allow that voice to speak to us and tell us what it is, because we think about the body, the emotions, the mind, the spirit, four things. I believe that there's more than four. And I believe that the body has been underestimated, because if you want to talk about unconditional love, if you want to talk about somebody staying with you no matter what, that's the body. Body is always with you. The body is always leading and guiding you. But we don't really think about the body as important. You know, it's just the vessel we live in. And I think we need to rethink that. I think we need to give the body more credit, because the body is the one who's saying, don't eat that salmon, and you go on and eat it, and now your stomach is hurting, but you didn't listen. So I think as we're under construction, we really need to allow the contractor to really show us and follow the path and the process of the contractor, and stop listening to all these other voices that's telling us, go here, go here. No, just be still. And the voice will speak to you, and you'll know which way to go.
And we'll be right back after these messages. No, I'm just playing. We're not going to do Phil. Was that Phil Donahue that did that?
I don't know.
So I have something else I want to bring up real quick. As we're building our individual spiritual construction, it also ties to the collective body and what we're building collectively together, because it all links in. So if we focus on what we're doing, everything just goes back to self. If we focus on what we're doing, everything automatically links up. And see, that sometimes gets challenging because we're so primed to look across the street, look across the city, look across whatever, look at what mama and them doing and what the Joneses are doing. And we take sight off of what we're individually doing and what we're individually building. And then the other thing to that is, what does your site look like? Because I think some of us build with limitations, you know. Well, I'm only good enough to have, I don't know. And again, there's nothing wrong with having a one bedroom. That's not what I'm saying. But you guys know what I'm saying. We look at us as not worthy to have the very best experience. Um, I think we sometimes sell ourselves short, and we don't allow the very best to come to us. It's almost like a self-sabotaging type thing. So I think the limitations and what we're viewing and what we're participating also adds or takes away from
Mhm.
the process. Because if you, as the CEO, just tell the general contractor that, hey, I don't need a basement, I don't need a roof, I don't, or, build it with cheap material, well, then that's exactly what's going to
Right.
manifest in your life. So we have to start looking at ourselves as these supreme beings of unlimited
Right.
access to all the universal resources. And it's tough because since birth, we've been taught what? To repress. We've been taught to don't get our hopes up. We've been taught to, you know, um, what's the word that I was always told? Don't speak if you talk real big about yourself, you're cocky or something like that. We've been taught to just dumb ourselves down and our self-worth down. And that's something that I really feel that we need to break out of so that we can really walk into the grandest version of who we are individually.
And I think one place to start, and I'm actually gonna go here, is, you said, we've been taught this, and our parents said this or this said here, but it's not tough, Ace. It's really not, because if we keep saying it's tough, then what's going to happen? That energy is going to make it tough for us. So at some point, we have to just say, okay, the CEO and the contractor are in agreement. So I want Forever Phoenix is going to be a campus. Okay. And whatever it takes, then what I need to do is open up my eyes to see what they're seeing, because it's already inside of me. It's only tough if I keep saying it's tough. I think we all can come out of that if we change our mindset and be an allowance. Just like you were saying when you went to the store and you've been hitting up a resistance, and you've been talking about hitting up the resistance, and then you got quiet and you really just allowed that voice. And what happened when you were in allowance? You went to the store, you got no resistance at all. So I think one of the things that we really need to start doing is speaking that which we actually want, speaking or desire, or whatever word you want to speak that, versus remembering that it was tough, because it's really not,
I
you
think when I
know.
was I think when I was relaying the tough, it's more of an unlearning. Um, and I could just speak for me. Pretty much a lot of things that I've brought into physical form, I've always felt I had to do physically. Like, so now it's okay, Ace, you can have everything and not really, yeah, I'm physically going through it, but the manifestation is happening from the invisible versus the physical. So going back to
Right.
general contractor, the general contractor isn't operating from a three-dimensional reality. The general
That
contractor
at
is
all.
12 dimension. I don't know what dimension it is, but it's not 3D. The general
Right.
contractor is like, look, I've seen this, been here before, been
Right.
with you 100 lifetimes. The general contractor is operating from a different dimension. And that's where I think we have to move
Mhm.
our thought processes. And sometimes, and I'm not going to use the word tough or hard, but sometimes we fall into the old habit of this. And
Right.
if the resistance show up, I've seen this before, let me quit. Let me not try again. Oh, it's hard, this, that, and the other. So I think you're right. I think the mindset switch has to be moving from creating from the 3D and getting into the dimensions where the creativity really starts, because that's where it starts. It starts in what you don't see before you see it. So
Right. Right.
so I think that's the switch that needs to be made.
Okay. And the other thing is the CEO knows what the CEO knows what it looks like. The general contractor knows what it looks like. Now the workers may not. And so it comes down to us having faith and trust in the CEO and our contractor to lead us and to guide us. We can't go to the plumber to ask what the roof is supposed to look like. So I think it comes down to us trusting and having faith in that contractor, the CEO, to know that they already know what the end is. So if we listen to that voice is going to take us there, but we've just got to be an allowance and be allowed to be guided because we trust us enough that we will know in the end it's going to be what we already knew the end would be before the beginning. What?
You're on a roll. Keep going.
It is 9:44.
Yeah, it's about wrap up time. So this was kind of cool.
Lisa, I can't say that 3 more times. You know,
Feel
but
like you had to pause yourself after that one.
I know. You know, I don't know, Shara, I don't know what's going on down in Florida, but I know up here in Cleveland and Amelie, I'm not sure what's going on where you're at, but here in Cleveland, there is so much construction going on no matter where you go. So I would challenge you all to pay attention to the construction. Watch what's going on. You know, I've started when I'm driving and I see the orange cones, I've started giving the orange cones names. Like, okay, there's anger, I've been given different things and seeing it and being able to say, okay, today I went down this way and they had all these orange cones, but tomorrow I go down there and there may be none. So what does that say for me? That means that I have cleared out this stuff because I trust me enough. It's not about anybody out there. I'm trusting me enough to know that my CEO and my general contractor knows what they're doing. I'm going to trust them. I'm going to have faith in them. And I'm going to do whatever it needs to take to hear from them. So that's it for today, folks. Ace, you have some announcements.
Oh my goodness. Well, hey guys, want to thank you all for participating. We're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to take a pause in the month of August from our Sunday meditations. There's some things we're working on behind the scenes. We're going to continue with our Thursdays. So we'll be here every Thursday at 9 p.m. But we're going to just pause the Sunday meditation for a month, and we'll let everybody know. Sad face at Sundays. We'll be back. We'll be back. We're gonna we'll be back. We're just working on some things behind the scenes, and we just need some time to quickly catch our breath, and we will be back fully robust. Hopefully going into September with the meditations, and we might do something a little different. We might even do a schedule difference but we will be sure.
Case,
And
we're
it's
getting
good
new
to know.
business here.
Well, it's good to know that
Yeah.
people are interested. So we're definitely not looking to do this permanently. It's just for a short period of time until we get some things dialed in, and then we will be back. But you can always visit the YouTube page. I think we've done I created a playlist called Meditations, and there's probably, if it's not a dozen, it's pretty close. So you can go back, and there's definitely enough to get you through this period of time if you just want to go back and just re-enjoy some of those meditations, or maybe you've missed one or two of them. We've put them all there on the YouTube page. So I think that's it. So we'll definitely be back here next Thursday. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. We truly thank you for the support. This will be on YouTube. It's actually on YouTube Live. It's going to take a minute to load up, and then I'll definitely have it on the Facebook pages if you guys want to share it with any of your with your people that you communicate with on Facebook, because I think this was a really cool. Actually, the entire series is cool. And I really like what we covered today, because we just went into some areas that I think it'll be beneficial for a lot of people. So, all
Real
right,
quick.
okay, I love y'all, but don't book it during a 90-day. Okay.
Okay, real quick, for those of you who are in Cleveland, Fresh Thyme has 25% off of all of their supplements up until Tuesday. So if you need anything, go on over there and grab it. They do have elderberry on the shelves. They had a lot of it. I went yesterday, and I'm going to kind of, hopefully you can see this.
I was getting ready to ask you, was it liquid? Okay.
Yeah, here's,
Yeah, you need to put that on the Facebook page.
okay, so it's the elderberry. Make sure you get the one that says, there you go, immune syrup.
Okay.
And then,
And that's the one with the zinc in it.
This one says vitamin C, zinc, propolis, echinacea, gluten-free, kosher, certified. So this is the one that I get. So this is the brand. It's the immune syrup. And then these are the things that are in it. The shelf was full yesterday, but I have been telling a lot of people about it. So you want to make sure you go grab it. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was $26.99, and then it's 25% off of that. They did have the vitamin C. They had everything that we had, the mushrooms. They had everything that we have been recommending on the shelf. So I would start getting it now, preparing for the fall. Probably not the next, well, I don't know, depends on how I'm led. I do want to do a talk on us doing a detox together, preparing for fall coming up, preparing, for winter and everything else going on. We need to prepare our bodies and get prepared for whatever's coming down the pike. So we'll be talking about us doing a detox together. I've researched the herbs. I have all that information. But make sure you go to Fresh Thyme and get your products, because 25% off is a really good deal. All righty, that is it. Everybody
that,
have an awesome night.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks, everyone.